Welcome to this webinar from ESS Biz Tools and ESS Biz Grants on the Small Business Advisory Services package. I hope wherever you are in Australia today it's not too hot, and if you're having bushfires, our thoughts go to you. We're just waiting for a couple more people to come. I'll just give them a little bit of time and then we'll get straight into this webinar. Well, they'll just have to join as they come in. So welcome to the webinar on Business Advisory Services package. If you have any questions during the presentation, can you use the computer system to raise your hand and type in the question, or alternatively send us an email at the conclusion of the webinar, and we will respond to you. So where did this program come from? As you probably gathered, ESS Biz Tools has been producing business advisory services material for accountants for a number of years. One of our accountants in Rockhampton in Queensland was obviously talking to Lorraine Thornton, the Chief Executive of the Rockhampton BDC, in about March of 2012. And Lorraine contacted us and asked if it was possible for us to prepare a package of business advisory services material similar to what accountants were using that she could utilise in training small business operators at the Rockhampton BDC. We did that. There was a bit of going backwards and forwards for a while and trying to determine the type of content that she'd like to receive. And Lorraine has been using that material in Rockhampton since July, and she's been kind enough to send us a testimonial, which is what you can view on the screen there at present. We've also included in the package access to ESS's new product, which is called ESS Biz Grants, which is a cloud-based program that assists organisations to identify government grants, both state and federal, that individual small medium enterprise operators might be eligible for. Lorraine Thornton was very interested in this, and we agreed to make it part of the package, and we'll refer to that product a little bit later in this webinar. So you can see on the screen there what's included in the package is 249 papers on small business issues, 25 workshops that can be configured and used as seminars or webinars. They're already prepared, ready for use. 8 client mentoring and coaching modules. This is material that's been prepared basically for accountants and other business advisors to be able to educate a client about a particular subject matter, whether it's starting a business, dealing with banks, exporting, etc. And we also have a newsletter which we produce every month by January and send to our accounting and business advisory subscribers, who rebadge that and send it to their clients and other people in their newsletter list. Now, Rockhampton BEC's been sending that newsletter out to the small business operators within their database, and Lorraine Thornton has indicated to me that they've received very positive comments from those people participating in that training program. So what I've done now is just click through to a list of the material that's within the small business package. When a small business organisation becomes a subscriber, they're given their own unique username and password, which then allows you 24/7 access, and your access rights will only be to these particular papers. However, you can view the executive summaries for every paper within the system, and there are 500 odd papers in the ESS BizTools system, but you won't be able to get access to those others. So there's 249 that you can get access to, and I'm just showing you the names of these. You can access these from our website, and that's what we're on at present, obviously. So what we've tried to include in the package, after having a number of discussions with the WellRun, was a package that covered the various introductory type areas, corporate structures, how to go about starting a business, the type of systems to be kept, some of the accounting reports, because we believe it's very important that small business operators have a good understanding of what the terminology is, so that they understand the sort of reports that they should be receiving from their accountants and anyone else that's giving them advice once they start their business operations. So what Rockhampton BEC are doing is using this material to back up what they're saying to their trainees that they've got participating in their courses, but also indicating that this is the sort of material that well-organised accountancy businesses that are prepared to offer more than just taxation advice have got available that they can utilise to better inform their small medium enterprise clients. The papers are all prepared in readable sizes. We've tried to break it down and to make it something that someone will pick up and read. And as you can see, we're covering a wide range of subjects. Probably not all the items that go with a small business, but most of them. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's included in the papers, and we'll go onto the actual website shortly and you'll be able to see how you would download. So there's 249 of those papers. We also have client seminars, as I indicated. There's 25 been included in this package. In total there's 36 in the ESS BizTools system, and we have here on the right hand side the number of sessions. Some of these are more than one session, 3 sessions of 3 hours, 5 sessions of 3 hours. That might be a bit long for your purposes, and in fact what we discovered with accountancy businesses, most of them prefer to run 1 hour seminars. So the ones that are numbered over 1,000 are the 1 hour seminars, and we'll have a look at one of those a little bit later. But some accountancy businesses are utilising these longer seminars. I know one in Darwin currently is running this series of on firm foundations, 5 sessions of 3 hours. They're doing that one afternoon a week for 5 weeks to assist their clients in having a better understanding of what accountants can do. The client mentoring and coaching material that we will go onto the website shortly and give you the idea of what that package looks like. This is trying to better educate the client relating to a specific query that the client might have or something the client's going to do. So what we've included there is these 8 modules, and you can see there's quite a number of papers in some of these. So what we've done is put these into readable series, and we're suggesting that an accountant would send these out to their client, say over a 6-week period or 5-week period, depending on the volume, and we'll show you that in a moment. And it might be some material that you're able to use. Obviously Rockhampton BEC is using it, and they're using it as a way of trying to inform the client of what some of these things mean. So if an accountant says to them that they want to prepare a budget or a cash flow forecast or a business plan or conduct a business health check, hopefully they've got a lot better understanding of what the process means. The Business Plus newsletter I'll show you shortly, but it's a 4 page newsletter that we produce. Accountants can send it around whichever way they want to by a normal email newsletter or send us an electronic newsletter. There are 2 extra editions in May. One's on the federal budget as it affects small business. You might be amazed, but we can always produce a newsletter based on what's in the federal budget that affects small businesses. And we also produce in the 3rd week of May, after the federal budgets come out, a end-of-year checklist to assist small business operators in getting their records ready for taxation. And ESS Biz Grants, we'll talk about that in a moment. So they're the products contained within ESS Biz Tools. So we'll just go on to the main. So this is the main website of ESS Biz Tools. So what you can see there, it includes some of the matters we've just talked about. Business advisory services, we haven't included any of that material within the training package. But if you wanted that, you could get it. We could come to an arrangement. Someone asked us a few weeks ago, one of the training organisations, could they subscribe to the total package that accountants can get access to? You can do that, and we'll talk about prices a little bit later. But if you wish to utilise that material, you could do so. The client mentoring and coaching, we're going to go into that in a moment. Leadership modules, we haven't included that. The same comment applies because it's in the total page. So we're going to assess papers. The papers, first of all, are in sections, and there's the section headings that are on the screen there at present. And if we go back to beginning in business, so if you click onto any of the section headings, you will then receive a list of the papers that are contained in that particular section. The first item we have in each case is an executive summary, so that you could read that and decide whether that's what you wanted to make available. So this one's hints on buying a business. This is just to give you an idea how you would then access these papers. So our license is that you can access the papers at any time, 24/7. You're given a username and a password, and the people within your organisation would be able to access it. If you're handing these papers out to your client or your trainees, you could badge them with the name of your training organisation at the top there, because that's what that space has been left for. So the papers are written so that hopefully they can be readily understood by small business operators. We've tried not to make this a document full of jargon. We've tried to make it of real value for an average small business operator who's wanting to have a far better understanding of the process. I probably don't need to tell you people, but obviously one of the great frustrations is that just because someone's a good pastry cook or a motor mechanic or even a doctor, general practitioner, because I'm working with some of them at present, they need to learn or understand the other peripheral skills that go into running a business. Their trade or professional skills is probably 70 to 80% of what they require, but if they're going to be successful, they also need to have an understanding of these other skills. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do that work, but we believe that they need to understand what these terminologies, reports, processes are all about, so that they can really act as the CEO of their business in talking to their accountant or other advisors, whether it's marketing, sales, IT or whatever, that they've got a better understanding of the theory behind some of these processes. So what we're going to do now is just go, that was the brief overview of how a paper works. What I omitted to do there, I just need to go back. For every paper there's a set of PowerPoint slides. And I'll just go back and just download those so you can see those. So for the 500 odd papers in the system, there is a set of PowerPoint slides. They've been introduced as part of the facilitation for running webinars or seminars, but also some people like to use these on a basis of if they're talking to a small number of clients. So they're there, and if you wanted to use them, obviously you can do so in delivering your training for these small business operators. A couple other people joined us, welcome, and we're just working through the website for this product for small business training organisations. So the next area I want to go to is, I'll just get back into the main menu, is to go to client seminars. There are 25 client seminars that have been included in the material made available to training organisations. What I'm pulling up here now is characteristics of a well-run business. This is a 1-hour seminar. What you receive in this module is everything to do with that particular seminar. So if you wanted to run some seminars in your training organisation, they're pre-prepared, ready to be used, including registration forms if you had to go through that process, news releases if you wanted to do that. We have a document called a general hints on the presentation of a seminar that may be of some help. There's what we call generic material here that is common to all seminars, but it's been included in each seminar package so that you don't have to go looking for something. It's there. And then there's items that are unique to this particular seminar. So we have a draft of a suggested news release that you may want to put out. Media is interested in stories, more so I think in regional and country areas. You won't get an article like this run in the Sydney Morning Herald, but I know we've got some people on the line from Wagga. You might get it run in the Wagga paper. We operate out of Townsville in North Queensland. We get stories run in the local North Queensland media, both radio, TV and newspapers. Normally the journalists will expand the story a bit. The media is very interested in articles to do with small business because there's a lot of people out there in small business. And then within the package we have the actual paper. So there's no chance of starting to run the seminar and finding that the paper you're going to hand out to the participants is not there or someone's produced the wrong one. This module on this seminar, webinar has got the material, so this is another paper of course, and this one's on the characteristics of a well-run business. To be honest, it is my favourite because what we've tried to do is identify the key characteristics of running a small business. We have 20 of them. If people could do all those things right, they'd be going very well, but at least it gives some summary of what we believe business owners should be aspiring to if they are going to run very good businesses. So that's there. And also there is another paper which I won't bring up at this stage, but there's also the PowerPoint slides. So if you wanting to run a seminar, the PowerPoint slides are prepared, ready for use, and you don't have to worry about going off and doing that anywhere else. Now, there's a couple other people joined us a little bit late. What I said at the beginning is, if you have any questions or comments, can you please send us a message by raising your hand, or alternatively you can send me an email or give me a phone call at the conclusion of the webinar. Now, I'm now going into mentoring and coaching. The mentoring and coaching section was developed by us after I received a phone call from an accountant in Perth one afternoon and said, I've got a new client coming in, what papers should I give him? I'm trying to get hold of this guy for years as a client. So I wrapped off some papers, and this particular accountant said to me, why don't you put that into a package so that I don't have to keep on ringing you, because next week you might want to know how to deal with the bank. So that's why we produced mentoring and coaching. So in this particular one, which is some material that might be supplied to someone that's thinking about going into business, and I imagine a lot of your trainees are doing that or already in business, but they might only be fairly new. We've deliberately tried to put some things together, for argument's sake, in this first series where there's a discussion on structures. We have companies, and the next paper right next to it is R&D tax incentive. The reason for that is you're probably aware, to gain the R&D tax incentive, which is currently 45% of the R&D expenditure for companies with turnovers under $20 million, the applicant has to be a company. You would be amazed in practice how many people don't know that. And when I say people, I'm including accountants, one of the biggest culprits. And so you can have a small business operator who's heard about these special taxation incentives for R&D expenditure, can go off and do it all in the wrong entity. Part of the reason for this is that they are being very guarded as to who they're going to tell what they're doing, but they don't have to reveal all their secrets to tell an accountant or a lawyer or some other advisor that they're doing some of these activities, and hopefully that accountant, lawyer or advisor will be able to quickly tell them that if they're spending more than $20,000 per annum on R&D activities, they should be doing so within a company so that they can access the fairly substantial R&D benefits that are contained within the Taxation Act. So this particular module has got 6 series, and we're going to suggest to you, if you're using this material and you wanted to supply this to some of your trainees that who are either just gone into business or proposing to go into business, we're suggesting you'd send this out to them over a 6-week period. But some of the accountants, and I think Rockhampton BEC, are binding these together and sending them out in a booklet format. That's your decision. The material's there. We just happen to believe that it's better to stagger the delivery of this material. Send someone 39 papers in one go, they may not read them all, whereas going up this way, we hope they will read them. So let's download the first series into the system. What we're going to get here, similar to the seminar material, is a complete module package so that everything's contained within it. There is a letter which explains or introduces to the client or the trainee why you're sending him this material or her this material, and there is a survey form. And what we encourage accountants to do is to follow up that survey form every week. So don't let it go for 6 weeks. Send out the material with the survey form, and then have one of their client support officers make the phone call after about 4 or 5 days to see whether the material has generated some questions, and either arrange for someone to get on the phone or email and answer those client questions or invite the client back in for a further discussion. Because what this material is all about is trying to educate the client in the type of information that they should be receiving if they are going to be well advised. And our belief is that what accountants should be supplying to small businesses is a chief financial officer service for a small business operator. And hopefully this material assists them in doing that. So here's a suggested letter which you could place on your training organisation's letterhead. Obviously you've probably got to edit it a bit. You say to the your trainees that you're sending this information as a sample of the type of information that a accountancy business that's wanting to do more than offer taxation service should be able to supply to them. You can edit any of that material if you wish. With the survey form is there. You can put your name of your training organisation up there. We're asking the small business operator or the would-be operator to indicate whether they found these papers of any benefit to them, did they help them, or were they no good. And if you get any no goods, please let me know. Hopefully what they're going to do is identify some items that they would like to talk to you about. Now, I don't know how far you might actually go with them on some of these problems, but it might give you an idea of some of the issues that are confronting these people starting in small business. Obviously, from an accountant's point of view, we'd expect them to be trying to answer those questions and explain how various things work. And then within the material, and I won't go through it all, but we then have the individual papers, so they're there. So once again, there's no need to go off searching through computer files, trying to find the particular papers that have been mentioned in the letter or the survey form. They're there, they're ready to be used, and it's a process that can be delegated to someone in your organisation to make sure it's sent out to the clients. We've included the PowerPoint slides. Some people like the PowerPoint slides. It's up to you whether you send them out to the small business operator or not. But at least the material's there if you wish to use it. The next area I want to go to is just to show you the Business Plus newsletter. I'll just download it. We'll download the December 2012 issue. We don't produce a newsletter in January. Although we did it about 3 years ago when there were massive natural disasters all around Australia, and given what's happening at present, we might have to do that. It depends on if governments are announcing any new grants for business operators. They're announcing grants, I've noticed, for householders, but might be something we'll do later in the month. But our next newsletter at this stage will be produced and available on our website for our subscribers, which will include the training organisation subscribing to us. On the second Friday of a month, we upload it at 12 noon Queensland time on the second Friday, and there are quite a number of accounting firms and some training organisations that are waiting for that material so that they're in a position to either add some of their own material to it or just send it out the way it is to their clients. First of all, though, obviously we want them to remove our name and put your organisation's name there. Obviously this was the Christmas one, so we have an editorial where we try to look at economic matters as they affect small, medium enterprises. It's a bit of a summary of what economists are saying, what various newsletters are saying, what's in the press like the Financial Review. I'm aware that a lot of small business operators don't read a lot of those things, so we're trying to give a condensed article that at least is trying to highlight the sort of things that they should be doing. Cash flow is king at present, probably always is, but continually alerting them to the need to be reviewing their budgets, cash flow forecasts, and their strategic plan. We look at things happening in director land. We have some pointers. So our newsletter is not full of taxation material, which some newsletters are. We've done a lot of contact with both accountants and small business operators. The SMEs don't really want a whole range of taxation articles. They claim that's for the accountant to worry about. We talked about intellectual property, a huge issue for a lot of small business operators who unfortunately are unaware of the necessity to implement strategies to protect it. Human resources update, obviously the Fair Work Australia legislation is proving to be very tough for some business operators. Social media, there's some court cases starting to emerge about social media. The problems this week with the coal company in New South Wales are just highlighting some of the abuses that can take place in social media. I don't pretend to have the answer to that, how businesses are going to protect themselves. That was a public company, but there's also been some comments today on the media about one of the major retailers that's had problems. Someone hacked their social media Facebook yesterday or the day before and had control, were writing very defamatory type articles there for 12 hours before the business realised it was happening. So there's some real issues in social media. Some of our articles we run in over a series, 2 or 3 different articles, because we try not to have one particular article dominate it. We've been running a series for some weeks on analysing business plans, trying to demystify to a small business operator what a business planning process is on about. Within ESS BizTools there are 54 questionnaires relative to various aspects of a business operations for the preparation of a business plan. Now they're not included in the training organisation kit. If you decide that you might need those, if you let us know, we can come to an arrangement. The Apprentice Kickstart initiative is an initiative that's currently in operation to the 28th of February. It could be something that's of great interest for some of your trainees in small business management. They've got less than 200 employees, which I imagine most of them would have, and they're in the building and construction industry, and their trades are listed on the National Skills Needs list. The government's got a grant there if they sign on the apprentice prior to the end of February. We've been running a series on what's it mean, trying to demystify some of the accounting jargon. So we have that. We have this section which we call attention accountants. Maybe we need to take the word accountant out and put attention organisations or something. But we include details there of some of the material within ESS BizTools that could be used as reference material to give some supplementary commentary on matters discussed within the newsletter. So if someone gets a phone call and wants to know about the apprenticeship incentives, we've got a link there which will take you, which will show you where to go in our material to get the paper that's got the full details about that. So what we recommend to accountants is you delete that before you send that to your clients, and that's what Rockhampton BEC's been doing, and put your own article in there. And some people have got articles that are going to take more than that bit of space, so they end up with another page. That's okay. It might be about a seminar you're going to run. It might be about some award that one of your clients has won. It could be anything. Someone's had a baby. Whatever you want to put there. And obviously you'd change that ESS BizTools at the end to put your own organisation's logo there. Now within the website there are past editions for the last 3 years of our newsletters that are available to subscribers if they wanted to go back. Now, I can't see that anyone sent me any messages, so we will push on. And what we're going to do now is go into ESS BizGrants. So what I've shown you at this stage is the summary of what's within ESS BizTools. We do run BizGrants as a separate website because it's constructed completely different. It requires data to be inputted to it by the person that's trying to access a grant. We do have some case studies which can be looked at on the site. These are in the free area that are available to anyone. And we've got some 8 case studies that are different type of businesses in different locations around Australia, trying to highlight some of the different type of government grants that are applicable based on different turnover levels and also based on different locations. Okay, I've already logged on before we went on to start the webinar. So what I'm going to show you is we go into a client profile. When we decided to put this package together, we sat down and analysed a couple of hundred government grants from both the federal and state areas and tried to determine on a spreadsheet what were the common questions that were asked. So the questions were relating to things like structure. Company comes up first because that's the most common for a government grant, but in some grants these other types of structures can successfully apply. One of the questions is, does the business export? Does it import? Because there's particular grants for both exporters and importers. Numbers of employees is very important. There are a number of grants that require a minimum number of employees and others have a maximum number of employees. Do you have an ABN? This grant package is designed to identify grants for small, medium enterprises. So an applicant needs an Australian business number to be able to access grants in this area. We have not included at this stage grants for charities, not-for-profits or Indigenous organisations. We'll look at that later this year. So these are grants for small, medium enterprises, and grants for the big end of town really are not covered, although a couple of the grants to do with clean technology have turnovers mentioned of up to 100 million, so that's starting to get a bit big. How many years have you been operating is also very important. There are a number of grants. Enterprise Connect, for argument's sake, which is the largest numeric number of grants in Australia, a federal government grant, requires the business to have lodged 3 annual business activity statements. A number of other grants require the applicant to have been in business for 1, 2 or 3 years before they can apply. In fact, quite a number of the state government grants have these minimum years of operating. So it's very difficult these days to find grants that will help brand new startups. Most of them are concentrating on businesses that have been around for a while. Turnover is important. It comes into all sorts of things. We mentioned research and development before. They've got a $20 million figure. Annual expenditure, we've included that because the Enterprise Connect grant, which is, as I said just a moment ago, is arguably the largest numeric grant in Australia. So been over 10,000 grant applicants or successful grant applicants in 2012. It has this concept of, whilst there's a minimum and maximum turnovers for the various industry categories that people can seek grants under Enterprise Connect, it has a stroke alongside it, so it says minimum turnover stroke minimum expenditure, so that if someone does not qualify under the turnover requirement, they could qualify under the expenditure. The expenditure includes capital expenditure and includes research and development. So a business that might have very little turnover, indeed might have no turnover, but may have spent the requisite sum, whether it's business income or expenditure, may have spent that in getting them to this situation. Therefore, they could be eligible. And that's why we've included that there as an explanation of what annual expenditure is all about. Are they registered for GST? They won't get a grant in this section unless they're registered. Tax exempt, also, as I just said, they're not going to get it unless they can answer the no to that. Research and development, we're wanting them to tell us if they're doing research and development, because not only the R&D grants, but there's a whole range of other grants, primarily in some of the state government areas, that do require organisations to have conducted R&D. And we have a question there about is there a concern about the financial vulnerability? That really means are the liquidators about to walk up the footpath? It doesn't mean that the debtor's days outstanding are 62 days and the accountant thinks it's too large. Probably are at 62 days, but this is a question that's really framed from a government bureaucrat's point of view. They don't want to be embarrassed by issuing a grant to a company that falls over very shortly thereafter. So the way we've set this system up, if anyone answers yes to that, they will not be offered any grants because the bureaucracy won't approve them. Now, we can't go any further unless we fill some answers in there, and to get that we just need to go into some actual, so we've got a whole range of businesses we've put in there. I'm just going through to one in particular. Canback Manufacturing was a business I established for this purpose. It's hypothetical, of course, for the Australian Technology Showcase for accountants, which was in Sydney in October. Probably need to update it with another one, but we've got a company called Canback Manufacturing. We've said it's a company, does export, does import, 25 employees, has an ABN. We've been operating for 12 years, turnover of 6.8 million, expenditure of 6.5, and so on. So we save that. Now in the address details, which we've already entered, what we'd entered was this business was in Bankstown, New South Wales, 2,200, and the system had identified that Bankstown on that postcode is in the major cities of Australia. Now that's a terminology utilised by Enterprise Connect, because Enterprise Connect have got different levels of eligibility depending on where the business is situated. So we've got the major cities of Australia, which are Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth. The rest of the cities, including Canberra, are deemed to be regional cities. And then we have the concept of remote and very remote areas, and the eligibility criteria changes. The financial details, we've already put that in. We need to then answer business and industry profile, because when you analyse the government grants, they are looking for an indication as to what the business is, and this is all in accordance with the Australian and New Zealand industrial classifications. So we've listed those. We've said this is a manufacturer, and the other area is industry. There are 17 industry classifications under the Australian and New Zealand standard industrial classifications. They're there so that a user needs to identify what industry the business is serving, because a lot of the grants specify the industry that people have got to be in. If you're uncertain, you can click on that URL there. It will take you to the Bureau of Statistics website, and then you can have a look under the individual 17 headings to see the various business classifications that have been listed there. So we don't want to go any further. We've already listed that we think this client's operating in the electricity, gas, water supply, etc., and they're also in the manufacturing industries. Now, this is one we've been playing with, and what's it still in pending are grants that when we went through it, acting as if we were dealing with the hypothetical client, we left out some of these grants. didn't think the client would be interested in them. These couple here on the Clean Technology Investment Program were added to our database after the material was produced for that Australian showcase in Sydney in October. And what this is illustrating is that any new grants that are added after someone has gone through and looked at a particular client will be shown in the pending list next time someone goes and has a look at that client. But let's move forward to potentially eligible, because we've already done this. So these are some of the grants which we've identified that this client might be eligible for. So to give you an idea how this works, let's go on. We want to have a look at Export Market Development Grant. So obviously for every grant, there's then a summary of what the grant's all about. Obviously in this case, the 2012 application should already have been lodged, and there's no extension, so we'll be updating that material next week and making the 2013 information there, but I'll still do as an example to show you. So the funding is 10,000 to 150,000. It covers a range of expenses. To better explain what's there, though, we've included the paper. So within ESS BizTools, there is a paper on this grant, so we have it within the grant section, so that if you wanted to have a look and see, well, what is an export market development grant? How does it work? What's the small business's responsibilities? There is a paper there which sets out the full details of how the system works. There's a summary of the expenses that are allowable under Export Market Development Grant, so that an advisor using this material could print that up and go through it with the client to make sure they have an understanding of what they can claim. When we started doing this, I said we identified about 20 questions, which is what we put into the initial client profile. But if we put all the questions there, we'd have about 700 of them. So that what we've done is tried to utilize a funnel to narrow down that a client is doing export activities, so only the ones that are doing export activities are going to get this far, where there's now some additional questions that have to be asked. Now, not all the correct answers are yes. The correct answer is no. On this one here, it looks like they were all yes. So we've previously identified that this grant is something that this business is potentially eligible for. But let's change the first answer and say no. We're going to say no. What it's immediately done is given us the indication that you've answered no to this question, therefore you're going to be ineligible for this grant. And if we were doing this for the first time, it's really implying to us there's no use going any further, because you've got to be able to answer the right way to each of these questions. So if we went back to results now, and we went and had a look at the potentially ineligible heading, we will now have the Export Market Development Grant. I don't want to leave it that way, so I want to go back and I want to change it back to yes. And it is now saying that we're eligible for that. Now, if you wanted to show someone how they can apply for this grant, we click on to apply now, and what that is now giving us is the URL for Austrade, which is the government department handling Export Market Development Grant. If we clicked on that, that would take us to the application form, which, as I said earlier, had to be submitted by the 30th of November 2012 for the 2012 claim. But there's no chasing around looking for the application form. It's there. You're going onto the government website, so that if the government happened to change the form or withdrew a particular grant, a lot of time is not going to get spent in chasing it down. We're trying to monitor when governments withdraw grants, but there's hundreds of these grants, so keeping them all under our observation all the time can be a bit difficult. And so if you find that a grant's not there, we'd like you to let us know. So when we go back to results, we're now going to look at the potentially eligible. And what we can then do is produce a report. So this is the report that could then go to the client to say, having done some evaluation for Canback Manufacturing Company, whoever your name of your training organisation is, or an accountant's name or a consultant's name, whoever's using our product, their name would then come up there. And what the system is doing is producing a brief summary on what the particular grants are. So you can see we did identify some apprenticeship grants. There are 9 apprenticeship grants in Australia. We did identify they should be registered with the Bureau of Statistics, because there's a whole range of free information there that small businesses can get access to. About 7 or 8 years ago, Bureau of Statistics used to sell that information for about $3,000 or $4,000 a year to small businesses. That's now free. Corporate aware schemes, another item that's applicable to some businesses. There is a disclaimer produced in each page, because no one is saying to the small business operator that they're going to be able to claim these grants. They've got to go through an application process, and there could be many reasons why the government will not give them a particular grant. Here's the Export Market Development Grant that we had a look at in detail. So that's the type of report. Obviously some manufacturing centre under enterprise tech grants have been identified here. So the system is giving a summary as to the grants. Rockhampton BEC, Lorraine Thornton, likes this ability to be able to show her trainees some insight as to the government grants that might be available for them, and that's the reason we've included that section in this particular offering. So I'll just go leave that there like that. So that's the summary of the package which we've prepared based on the input from Rockhampton BEC for training organisations. Subscriptions can be made. The annual subscription cost is $2,300 plus GST, and that gives you access to everything that I've shown you today, including the BizGrants material. I did indicate that a couple of people have asked us could they subscribe for the accountant's package. That's okay if you wish. The accountant's package subscription is $3,400 plus GST, and that covers everything that's included within the ESS BizTools material. So if you've got any questions or comments, we'd like to hear from you. If you're happy to subscribe, we would most welcome you as a subscriber to our training organisations package. So thank you very much for participating in our webinar today. Have a great day. I hope it's not too hot for you wherever you are in Australia. Thank you. Goodbye.